to my YouTube channel, and if you're new you should definitely subscribe. I upload every Sunday. So my first tutorial I started off with is with the braids. It was really most requested and I've never actually done it, so I decided to while I was recording figure out how to do the braids. So if I look confusing, I'm really sorry. If you're not new to my channel, first thing I'm doing is something I always start off with, and it's really easy. After this, if you don't see or know what brush I use, the first brush I use is called the oil hair, I think, and that's a brush that I used that I think that was perfect for the braids. I think later on, as I get better at doing braids, I'm gonna use a different brush and do like another video showing how to properly do it. My last IbisPaintx hair tutorial, you would notice that I used this brush and with the colour purple, and always have the force fade on because it has a lot of difference, believe me. So I don't even know why I used the purple colour and not white, something like that. I don't know. But it's a technique that I learned from someone else on YouTube. So when you're doing this, I actually went back while I was doing this and changed it after I figured out how to make the braids look nice. But you should take your time doing this part because you gotta do like erase stuff. Make sure while you're erasing there's like a fade, and you're not like, it's not like you're actually like erasing like you made a mistake. So yeah, take your time, and then you're gonna see the next thing I do. So you're not doing this all the way down because that takes too long. And this hairstyle actually took time, so I had to like not make it a really long tutorial on the braids because it did take a really long time to do every little single braid. I forgot to mention, if you didn't notice, with the eraser I picked the airbrush on the eraser that gives you the fade when you're erasing, if you didn't notice and you're struggling, because I feel like I would have gotten asked that question in the comments. Is duplicating that layer, so you're not doing the whole thing all the way down to the tip, and that's just gonna give you so much time doing the whole braid, and it's just gonna be a long, frustrating process. So after you've done that, you're gonna merge down all the layers for that single braid, because if you don't do that, when you're done, it's just gonna be like all confusing with like the multiple layers that you've done by duplicating and then going on a single braid and then doing, you know, the whole thing again. So after you're done, merge down all the layers and then do this step again, go halfway down and then duplicate and then go all the way down to the tip for each braid. So as you can see, I fast forwarded to when I've done a bit more on the braids. At this point I figured out how to make the braids look better. So as you're doing it, you've got to have like a fade going in the middle of the braid, so you see how the patterns look more neater than the other braid that I did that's next to it. And obviously I'm gonna go back and redo the whole thing, so it was like a really long ass process, and I was really making sure it was perfect, because when you change the color, it makes a whole lot of difference when you see your braid pattern look neatly done, taking your time. Like I said at the start of the video, I went back and redid this braid pattern, well, the previous braid pattern, because now I figured out, you know, how to properly do the braids. And of course I'm gonna do another video on how to make it look better, because this is like a practice for me. This is literally the first ever time I'm doing braids. So yeah, my next video would be like different hairstyles you can do with the braid hairstyle. And when you're done with your braids, every single braid should have like their own layers. So after you're done, merge it all down and then change the color to however you want. So I chose brown. It's my favorite color for like a basic hairstyle. And then when you're done, you're gonna duplicate that layer of the braids and put it to the other side, and there you go. And that's how you do braids in a hairstyle. And I didn't like how mine came out because, you know, it was my first time, so I didn't know what I was doing. The last step, just erasing the tips off, and then you're done. Next hairstyle I'm doing is straight hair. A few people has asked me to do it. I was kind of surprised. It's like the most easiest hairstyle to repaint, but it's okay, we are all learning. So the first brush I'm using is a pen fade brush, and I've used it a few times on my channel. I feel like it's the easiest brush to make your hair look realistic when you're using IbisPaint to repaint your hair if you can't get at Procreate, or you do have Procreate and you find it difficult to use it. Anyways, I just draw out straight lines and how I want the straight hair to be, and then after I've done that, instead of, you know, going to the other side trying to match the other side of their straight hair, I duplicate it like I've done with other hairstyles and put it to the other side because, you know, it saves time. Drawn your hair like this, it doesn't really matter if you choose to have a middle or side part, it would still work. And then after we've done this, I'm using the same brush that I did with the braids because it makes the hair look more realistic than the other hairstyles that the other previous IbisPaint hairstyles that I've done with the round brush using the white lines. That was like the first easiest way to do it, and that's how I used to repaint hair. And since I figured out this technique on my own, I feel like everyone should learn how to use it because your hair edits would look amazing with that brush. before you use the brush, make sure you always have the fast fade on, and yeah, just take your time doing the lines. Make sure it's like not really close, because I'm purposely gonna, you know, do the eraser thing again and fade out. You'll know what I'm talking about after I've done the tutorial at the end, and you'd see how the hair looks, why I did what I did with this brush and the eraser, because I know it looks confusing and weird with looking at the process. So remember, take your time. This is actually not that difficult. But if you really feel like you still can't do it the way I'm doing it right now, then you should go back to my other IbisPaintx hair tutorials and use that way I repaint, if that's the easiest way for you to progress as you edit. Didn't record when I did the other side, but it's nothing different to what I did on the first side. So after you're done, merge the layer down and change the color to however you want that matches with black or whatever, and then when you're done with that, you're going to do highlights. and use the dip pen hard and not the soft brush, because soft brush always makes your highlights ashy and not look like it's highlight. What I did there was use the eraser and fade a bit more areas, but as you can see, the hair looks really realistic to my other IbisPaintx hair tutorials. Next hairstyle is the ponytail, the last one. It's really simple. I can't believe I've actually never done a ponytail before on myself or anyone else. But anyways, it's gonna be a simple tutorial as always. So I realized that I didn't show you need to do another layer when I was doing that little bun thing, and then I did another layer, the ponytail that I'm doing right now, with the pen fade brush. And after I've done this, I'm going to be doing the highlights of the round brush point, and obviously have your fast fade on before you do the highlights. And then also use white, color white, and what else? Basically, if you're not new to my channel, it's nothing new that I'm doing after I've done the ponytail. But if you are new, yeah, I'm trying to explain the next thing you're gonna do. But I'm sure you get it perfectly fine. done with the highlights, remember to use a Gaussian blur. Do not blur it too much because then your hair edit is just going to look a mess, to be honest. And then lower down the opacity just a tiny bit more and you're done with your ponytail.